Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagahana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradaite Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Chapter 6, Dhyan Yoga. So these are sections of the chapter. 1 to 9, Yoga Rurukshor in Yoga Ruda practice. 10 to 27 stages in Yoga practice Samadhi. 28 to 32, realization of Krishna as the super soul. 33 to 36, Ashtanga Yoga rejected by Arjuna. 37 to 45, destination of the unsuccessful yogi. And 46, 47, the topmost yogi. Okay, let's recite the first verse. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Anashrita Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karoti Yaha Sasanyasi Cha Yogi Cha Na Niragni Na Chakriyaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. Purport.
In this chapter, the Lord explains that the process of Eightfold Yoga system is a means to control the mind and the senses. However, this is very difficult for the people in general to perform, especially in the age of Kali. Although the Eightfold Yoga system is recommended in this chapter, the Lord emphasizes that the process of Karma Yoga or acting in Krishna consciousness is better. Everyone acts in this world to maintain his family and their paraphernalia. But no one is working without some self interest, some personal gratification, be it concentrated or extended. The criteria of perfection is to act in Krishna consciousness and not with a view to enjoying the fruits of work. To act in Krishna consciousness is the duty of every living entity because all are constitutionally part and parcels of the Supreme. Parts of the body work for the sense gratification of the whole body. The limbs of the body do not act for the self satisfaction, but for the satisfaction of the complete whole. Similarly, the living entity who acts for the satisfaction of the supreme whole and not for the personal sense satisfaction is the perfect sannyasi, the perfect yogi. The sannyasis sometimes artificially think that they have become liberated from all material duties and therefore they cease to perform agnihotra yagyas, fire sacrifices. But actually, they are self interested because their goal is to become one with the impersonal Brahman. Such a desire is greater than any material desire, but it is not without self interest. Similarly, the mystic yogi who practices the yoga system with half open eyes, ceasing all material activities, desires some satisfaction for his personal self. But a person acting in Krishna consciousness works for the satisfaction of the whole without self interest. A Krishna conscious person has no desire for self satisfaction. His criteria of success is the satisfaction of Krishna, and thus he is the perfect sannyasi or perfect yogi. Lord Chaitanya, the highest perfectional symbol of renunciation, prays in this way. न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितां वा जगदीश कामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवतात् भक्तिरहित की त्वयि. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, not to enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. What I want is the causeless mercy of your devotional service in my life, birth after birth.
Hmm. Okay, so here the Lord is saying, so first of all, he's telling who is sannyasi and yogi. Who's the real sannyasi and yogi? Anashrita karma phalam. One who does not take ashray of the karma phal. That means he is detached from the karma phal. So one who is detached, not attached to the karma phal, and karyam karma karotiya, he does his karma, he does his prescribed duties. So one who performs his prescribed duties without attachment to the results is sa sannyasi chi yogi. So he is sannyasi and yogi. And not one na niragreed na cha akriyaha. Not one who does not perform the Agnihotra sacrifices and one who does not perform his prescribed duty. So, one who simply gives up his duty is not sannyasi or yogi, but one who performs his duty without attachment to the fruits. He is a real sannyasi and yogi. Mhm. So, Krishna is speaking about the pre qualification to begin Ashtanga Yoga, and that is Nishkam Karma Yoga. Okay. So that's why he's speaking this verse. So one cannot become a sannyasi or yogi if one is attached to the fruits. So Prabhupada is focusing on that point of not being attached to the fruits. And therefore he says that everyone acts in this world to maintain his family and their paraphernalia, but no one is working without some self-interest, some personal gratification, be it concentrated or extended. But the criterion of perfection is to act in Krishna consciousness, not with a view to enjoying the fruits of work. So we already discussed this many times of how one should act without attachment to the fruits. Okay, please read.
In commencing the practice of Ashtanga Yoga, one should not suddenly give up Nishkam Karma Yoga, which purifies the heart. He who performs actions prescribed by the scripture as inescapable duty, Karyam Karma, without expectation of results, Anashrita Karma Phalam, is called a sannyasi. Since he renounces the results of his action, he is called a yogi because his mind does not dwell on the enjoyment of object of the senses. A person who merely renounces actions, such as the fire sacrifice, is not called a sannyasi, nor is one who merely half closes eyes without external bodily activity a kriya, called a yogi.
Yeah. Okay, so basically, Nishkam Karma Yoga, no attachment to the fruits, but simply performs one's prescribed duties. Prabhupada is giving a Krishna conscious perspective to that. Nadanam janam, na janam na sundari. Okay. Second, Yam sanyasam iti prahor yogam tam vidhi pandava nahi asanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kashana. What is called renunciation you should know to be the same as yoga or linking oneself with the Supreme, O son of Pandu, for one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. So here Krishna is saying, basically, one can be a sannyasi only one is a yogi, and one can be a yogi only one is sannyasi. Yam sannyasam iti prahud yogam tam vidhi pandava. Nahi asanyasta sankalpa yogi bhavati kasya. So what is sannyas is the same as yoga. And no one can be a yogi without being a sannyasi, without renouncing the fruits. Because yogi means what? Huh? One who controls his mind and senses. So if one is attached to the fruits, can one control mind and senses? No. So only if one renounces the fruits, that is sannyasi, one can control the mind and senses. And only when one controls mind and senses, then one can renounce the fruits. Both go together. So if one is not able to control the mind and senses, then obviously it'll become attached to fruits. Correct? So that's what Krishna is saying. Both go together, sannyasi, yogi. So sannyasi is one who renounces the fruits. Yogi is one who controls the mind and senses. But both are very much interlinked. They cannot be exclusive. Again, Prabhupada, of course, gives a Krishna conscious perspective. And he says, but a person in Krishna consciousness has no opportunity to engage his senses in anything which is not for the purpose of Krishna. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is simultaneously a sannyasi and a yogi. The purpose of knowledge and of restraining the senses as prescribed in the Jnana and the Yoga process is automatically served in Krishna consciousness. If one is unable to give up the activities of his selfish nature, then Jnana and Yoga are of no avail. The real aim is for a living entity to give up all selfish satisfaction and to be prepared to satisfy the Supreme. A Krishna conscious person has no desire for any kind of self enjoyment. He is always engaged for the enjoyment of the Supreme. One who has no information of the Supreme must therefore be engaged in self satisfaction because no one can stand on the platform of inactivity. All purposes are perfectly served by the practice of Krishna consciousness. Okay, so that's the topmost goal, to give up all desires for selfish sense enjoyments. That is basically what? Love. Krishnendriya Pritivancha and Atmendriya Pritivancha. That is the difference between love and lust, calm and praying. So that's our ultimate goal, and at least we must begin to gradually come to that platform of giving up desires for selfish sense enjoyment. What will I get? So slowly one must try to come to the selfless platform of thinking what will please Krishna, what will please Guru. So more and more one must mold one's consciousness towards the selfless aspect. Otherwise, progress will be very difficult if one simply remains attached to what's in it for me. Mujhe kya milega? If one is always focusing on that, then progress will be very slow. Because ultimate goal is prem. Prem means nothing for oneself. His Honor's Giraj Maharaj writes in his book, so once he asked Srila Prabhupada that, Srila Prabhupada, how you could go through so many difficulties, austerities in this old age to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. So what was Prabhupada's answer? My only policy was everything for Krishna and nothing for me. That was Prabhupada's. Only policy was? Yes. So that should be our policy also. Or we have some other policy? LIC policy. क्या अशोक प्रभु क्या क्या पॉलिसी आपका? वो क्या है? अच्छा. Now only which policy? Krishna policy. Only one policy now. No other policy. Uh, So nothing for me, everything for Krishna. Hmm. So gradually we have to change the consciousness towards this policy. Then Krishna will be pleased. Then we can make progress. Okay, third verse. Aruruksher karma karanamuchyate yogarudasya tasyeva shama karanamuchyate. For one who's a neophyte in the Eightfold Yoga system, work is said to be the means. And for one who's already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. Purport.
The process of linking oneself with the Supreme is called yoga. It may be compared to leader of attaining the topmost spiritual realization. This leader begins from the lowest material condition of the living entities and rises up to perfect self-realization in pure spiritual life. According to various elevations, different part of the leader are known by different names, but all in all, the complete leader is called yoga and may be divided into three parts, namely Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. The beginning of the leader is called the Yoga Rudha
Yoga
Yoga
Rurukshu
Rurukshu stage, and the highest
Ram
rank is called Yoga
Rudha.
Rudha. Concerning the Eightfold Yoga system, attempts in the beginning to enter into meditation through regulative principle of life and practice of different sitting posture, which are more or less bodily experience,
Exercises.
exercise, and considered creative material activities. All such activities lead to achieving the perfect material equilibrium
Equilibrium.
to control the senses. When one is accomplished in the practice of meditation, he causes all
Ceases.
disturbing material activities. A Krishna consciousness person, however, is situated from the beginning on the platform of meditation because he always thinks of Krishna and being constantly engaged in the service of Krishna. He is considered to have
Cease.
ceased all material activities.
So, as Prabhupada is saying, that the complete ladder is called yoga and is divided in three parts: Jnana Yoga, Dhyan Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Where is Karma Yoga? Yes, so the Karma Yogi automatically becomes Jnana Yogi. So, therefore, only Jnana Yoga is sometimes written. So, the beginning of the ladder is called Yoga Rurukshu, and the highest rung is called as Yoga Rudha. So, the initial stages of the ladder are called as Yoga Rurukshu. So, here Krishna is saying that for the initial stages, Arurukshor Muner Yogam Karma Karanam Uchate. Work is said to be the means. That means initially the Ashtanga Yogi has to perform what? Yes, he has to perform Karma Yoga. He has to perform his prescribed duties because prescribed duties are required for purification. So in the initial stages, Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahara, Dharana, all these initial stages, he continues to perform Nishkam Karma Yoga. All right? No, these stages are of Ashtanga, Ashta Anga. Ashta Anga, these are Ashta Anga, correct? Ashta Anga. So somebody who is who wants to practice Ashtanga Yoga, initially he is part-time yogi in one sense. That means what? He continues to remain at home, perform his prescribed duties, and at the same time he performs this Yam Niyam Asana. Both are going on parallelly. Is this clear? So Nishkam Karma Yoga and the initial parts of Ashtanga Yoga, both are going on parallelly. So he stays at home, he does his prescribed duties, whatever it is. And at the same time, he performs Yam Niyam Asana. So Yam Niyam are following the various rules and regulations, do's and do nots. And at the same time, some asanas, pratyahar, controlling the senses. So all this he's doing along with the performance of his prescribed duties. So this is what he does initially. So now, as he's performing both, so he's able to control his mind and senses and become more and more detached from the fruits. And that's how he gets purified and he makes progress. Correct? And then as he makes progress, then what happens? What happens? What's the next stage? After Karma Yoga is what? Gyan. So then he gets more and more Gyan. Which Gyan? Yes, I'm not the body, I'm spirit soul. He gets more and more knowledge, more and more detachment from the body. And then when he's totally detached from the body, he has no more material desires. Then at that point of time, he can renounce his work when he's totally purified. So when he's totally purified, he's almost on the liberated platform. At that time, he can renounce his work. And then he goes to the forest to meditate on the Paramatma. That is dhyana and then samadhi. So it is at that time that he goes to the forest to meditate on the Paramatma. So the higher stages are called as Yoga Ruda, the initial stages are called as Yoga Ruda. No. Okay, I understand your question. So see, when in the yoga ladder, what is shown is Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga. Understand? So that is, so if you go in sequence, then it is Dhyana Yoga. That is higher than Jnana Yoga. When he renounces everything, he renounces his karma, and then he goes to the forest to meditate, dhyan. But the initial stages of Ashtanga Yoga go along with Nishkam Karma Yoga. Is this clear? So therefore he says, Arurukshor Muner Yogam Karma Karanam Uchate. So initially, the karma is the means for purification. So the Nishkam Karma Yoga has to go on. But yoga rudasya tasyeva shama karanam uchyate. Shama. Shama means to stop. So when he reaches the yoga ruda stage, that time he can renounce his karma. And that time it's good for him to renounce the karma. Because first of all, he has to go to the forest. So he cannot do his karma in the forest. And at that time, if he continues his karma, that could be a sort of distraction for him. So therefore, at that time, he renounces his karma and then he goes to the forest to meditate on the Paramatma. The initial stages are like repetition. Before only why this word was not introduced, because of course, technically speaking, here the yoga ruda is in one sense higher than the what has been described so far. See, aruda means matured. So one who's mature in yoga. So in the practice of Nishkam Karma Yoga, then Jnana Yoga, so he comes to the liberated platform we discussed last chapter. He comes to the liberated platform and he may meditate on the impersonal Brahman. But that is not a very high perfection in yoga, isn't it? But here, this is higher than that because he is meditating on Paramatma. So therefore, this is considered to be a higher stage. And therefore, till what has been described in the previous chapter, almost till that time, that is all called as Yoga Ruruksha. Therefore, these terms have not been introduced because all that was Yoga Ruruksha only. So, Yoga Ruda is actually described only in this chapter. No. See, you see what Prabhupada is writing? What Prabhupada is writing? The beginning of the ladder. The beginning of the ladder is called Yoga Rukshu and the highest rung is called Yoga Ruda. So it's not meant only for Ashtanga Yoga. So the beginning stages are called as Yoga Rurukshu. The highest stages are called as Yoga Ruda. Yeah. तो यहाँ तो क्या लिखा है? Of course, some may put dharana in Yoga Rurukshu or Yoga Ruda. That is a little bit borderline. But definitely till Pratyahar, it's definitely Yoga Rurukshu. Mm-hmm. Yes, that is karma sannyas, correct. Yes, karma sannyas means giving up prescribed duties.
So here also chances of
So both go to the forest. The jnani also goes to the forest. He gives up his karma. He also goes to the forest to meditate on impersonal Brahman. Here also he goes to the forest to meditate on Paramatma. So either case, when they come to the stage of karma sannyas, they give up their prescribed duties, correct? There's no work for them. Then what they'll do in the city? If they live in the city without any work, they'll watch television. What else they'll do? So therefore here Krishna says at that point of time, the renunciation of work is the means. So they have to renounce. Others will be distraction. So therefore at that point of time, they go to the forest when they give up the prescribed duties, karma sannyas. Correct. Nishkam karma yog, jnana yog, that is all yoga rurukshu. See, Nishkam karma yog, jnana yog go together. Because as karma yoga increases, jnana increases, correct? So all that is yoga rurukshu. Then after all that, then when one has become purified and he renounces his work, then that is called as yoga root. Huh. Gyan increases not only by reading the scriptures, but by performing prescribed duties without attachment to the fruits. No, we didn't say that you don't have to read scriptures. So reading of scriptures is also there. Reading of scriptures is also there. At the same time, performance of prescribed duties without attachment to the fruits. Both are there. So the performance of prescribed duties without attachment to the fruits is what purifies one of the tendency to enjoy. What one wants to enjoy? Fruits. So if one gives up the fruits, then that tendency to enjoy will reduce, correct? So that is basically what is purification.
So there, Miss here, Gyan Yogi reads the Vedic literature, so you can say, and Ashtanga Yogi performs this yoga ruchis, all these ladders of to get more.
So the initial stages go along with the Nishkam Karma Yoga. So somebody could only perform Nishkam Karma Yoga without these initial stages, or somebody could perform Nishkam Karma Yoga along with this Yam Niyamasana. So if somebody performs this Yam Niyamasana, then this will help him in his purification. If somebody doesn't perform this also, it's all right. But if somebody performs this, then it will help him in his purification by following all these rules, regulations, asana. Pranayama. Because the pranayam is meant for what? Controlling the mind and senses. ठीक है ना? Okay? So now, in the next verse, Krishna gives a definition of Yoga Ruda stage. Yada hinendriyartheshu na karmasvanushajyate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yoga rudastadochyate. A person is said to be elevated in yoga when, having renounced all material desires, he neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activities. So this is the definition of yoga ruda. Yoga rudas tadochyate. So what are the important characteristics? Yadahi na indriya artheshu. So he doesn't act for sense gratification. Indriya artheshu. Na karmasu anushajyate. Nor he performs fruitive activities, karma. So one who does not perform fruitive activities, nor acts for sense gratification. Sarva sankalpa sannyasi. He has given up all desires for sense gratification. So one who has given up all desires for sense gratification, he does not work for fruitive activities, and he does not engage in any sense gratification. So in this way, when a yogi has totally renounced all desires, all activities for sense gratification, that is called as Yoga Ruda stage. So see, the same thing, these same stages, Yoga, Rurukshu, Yoga, Ruda, can also be applied to Bhakti. Correct? So the initial stages of Bhakti, Adho Shraddha, Sadhu Sang, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishta, Ruchi, until Asakti, we can say is all Yoga Rurukshu. And Bhava and Prema is Yoga Ruda. The same thing applies because only the Bhava stage is a liberated platform. When one is totally free from the influence of three modes, no more material desires. So that is Yoga Ruda. Correct. Yes. Bharat Maharaj went to fast. Yes. So Prabhupada is again giving a Krishna conscious perspective. Without Krishna consciousness, one must be always seeking out self-centered or extended selfish activities. But a Krishna conscious person can do everything for the satisfaction of Krishna and thereby be perfectly detached from sense gratification. One who has no such realization must mechanically try to escape material desires before being elevated to the top rung of the yoga ladder. Okay? So till the point one has come to total renunciation of the material desires, then one must mechanically, that means it's not natural, but one must try to give up the material desires. So, by engaging all the senses and the mind in Krishna's service, then gradually one becomes free from the material desires. And so, therefore, in order to progress on the path of yoga, an important aspect is to control the minds. Because the material desires are there in the mind, and so one needs to control the mind. That's what he says in the next verse. Uddharedatmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva hi atmano bandhur atmaiva ripuratmanaha. See how many times the word Atma is coming in this verse?
5 times.
But do they have the same meaning? No. So, Uddharet Atmana means by the mind. Then the next Atmanam means the conditioned so. Twice then Atmanam is conditioned so. Then again Atma is mind. So basically conditioned soul, mind. These are the two meanings that are used here. And as Prabhupada writes in the purport, the word Atma denotes body, mind, soul, depending upon different circumstances. Okay, we'll recite the next verse also because both are similar or have the same theme. Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana jitaha anatmanastu shatrutve vartitatmaiva shatruvat. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. Okay, please read both the purports.
The word Atma denotes body, mind, and soul, depending upon different circumstances. In the yoga system, the mind and the conditioned soul are especially important. Since the mind is the central point of yoga practice, Atma refers here to the mind. The purpose of the yoga system is to control the mind and to draw it away from attachment to sense object. It is stressed herein that the mind must be so trained that it can deliver the conditioned soul from the mire of nescience. In material existence, one is subjected to the influence of the mind and the senses. In fact, the pure soul is entangled in the material world because the mind is involved with false ego, which desire to lord it over material nature. Therefore, the mind should be trained so that it will not be attracted by the glitter of material nature. And in this way, the conditioned soul may be saved. One should not degrade oneself by attraction to sense object. The more one is attracted by sense object, the more one becomes entangled in material existence. The best way to disentangle oneself is to always engage the mind in Krishna consciousness. The word he is used for emphasizing this point. That is, one must do this. It is also said, Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandhamokshayo bandhaya vishaya sango muktaye nirvishayam mana. For man, mind is the cause of bondage and mind is the cause of liberation. Mind absorbed in sense object is the cause of bondage, and mind detached from the sense object is the cause of liberation. Amrit Bindu Upanishad 2. Therefore, the mind which is always engaged in Krishna consciousness is the cause of supreme liberation. Next. Text 6 purport. The purpose of practicing eightfold yoga is to control the mind in order to make it a friend in discharging the human mission. Unless the mind is controlled, the practice of yoga for show is simply a waste of time. One who cannot control his mind lives always with the greatest enemy, and thus his life and its mission are spoiled. The constitutional position of the living entity is to carry out the order of the superior. As long as one's mind remains an unconquered enemy, one has to serve the dictations of lust, anger, avarice, illusion, etc. But when the mind is conquered, one voluntarily agrees to abide by the dictation of the personality of Godhead, who is situated within the heart of everyone as Paramatma. Real yoga practice entails meeting the Paramatma within the heart and then following his dictation. For one who takes to Krishna consciousness directly, perfect surrender to the dictation of the Lord follows automatically.
So sure you have heard a lot of mind control, right? Since beginning, art of mind control. Okay, Prabhupada's lecture, please read.
Mind is the driver. If you ask your driver, please get me into Krishna consciousness temple, the driver will bring you here. And if you ask your driver, please get me in in that liquor's house, the driver will drive you there. The driver's business is to drive you wherever you like. Similarly, your mind is the driver. If you lose control, then wherever he likes, he will take you. Then you are gone. Then your driver is your enemy. But if your driver acts on your order, then he is your friend.
So driver takes one somewhere else according to his will. Dangerous position, right? So how many is mind is friend here? Ujjwal Prabhu's mind is somewhere else only. Okay, so we have something for you here. नहीं pair exercise. करो समझ में आ गया ना प्रश्न? समझ में आ गया कि नहीं? हाँ, 5 minutes. Okay, I'm adding one question here. Note down some analogies describing the mind. Some analogies describing the mind. So we hope those who are online are also answering these questions. Individually.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Only one is doing, I think. Others are sleeping.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Yes, Prabhuji, we are also writing.
Good, good. So you're answering the questions with your mind. हो गया? Okay, first question. Okay, we'll start with online devotees. Huh? So share realization of how mind is friend or enemy. Online, somebody wants to say?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, many times we are getting, in some circumstances, are getting opportunity to gratify our senses, and we have desire also.
Hmm.
But that time that the thought comes in mind, if I will gratify the senses, that I will not be more useful for Srila Prabhupada.
Okay.
So this thought comes in mind, and somehow we are praying, tolerating that urges.
Hmm.
And when that urges goes, that now the situation becomes normal. That it gives very pleasure that I somehow I controlled by the grace of Prabhupada, Krishna's.
Good. So you're always successful in making your mind your friend.
No,
Huh?
no, Prabhuji, many times. Trying, bro, but sometimes getting failed also, sometimes
I,
able to.
I thought you already became perfect yogi. But anyways, so we're all trying. Good. Somebody else here?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. कौन है?
Online, Prabhuji, Shubham.
अच्छा अभी ऑनलाइन गए क्या?
हाँ.
बोलो.
So, Prabhuji, I listed category wise. Like for anger, it is always good to not speaking, not bringing into action, like especially on mouths. That is difficult, but sometimes it happens that we avoid discussion or talk, justification or blaming. Then it helps to calm down mind in the situation of anger. Because in the burst of anger, there is no question of discussion because it is already
So you're saying in when one is
delusion.
angry, where it's
So,
difficult to make the mind.
and for no, to means make it a friend at that moment is at least telling it, okay, no need to talk, we'll discuss later, like that. The second part,
Okay.
like how to turn it to a potential enemy to a friend.
No, we are not. No, that later on. Wait. We are on the first question now. Here, anyone wants to say?
Okay.
Huh?
Mhm.
It's always good to share personal stories.
Prajit, yeah, Mr.
Wait. Here, Sushmit Pro is speaking.
When I was not in ashram, that time I had a smartphone, and I used to think I'll sleep early, but I thought let's do some refreshment. I'll hear some Krishna Katha. So I used to start watching one lecture, and it used to end up at 11 o'clock. So it never was the case. I slept early then. So mind cheated me in that way.
But you heard Krishna conscious lecture, no?
But still, in the morning, again that lecture turned to me because my chanting was not good.
Oh, so you heard the lecture, but you could not practice the lecture.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so in that way, the mind cheated. Okay, good. Not so bad. After all, it was Krishna conscious. Hmm?
Prabhuji, initially in 2018, when I shifted to center somehow,
Hmm.
but
Somehow. So who brought you? Mind or intelligence or?
devotees brought me.
Acha, devotee's mind. Hmm.
So, Prabhuji, like when I came to center, so I had some this one or two experiences. Based on that, I thought that I can go to center and stay there only. But when I came, I remember I was like not able to take the practice wholeheartedly. There are some doubts, but I don't wanted to clear the doubts also. Just holding the doubts and just carrying on and रोते रोते माला एकदम यार हरे कृष्णा रोते रोते एकदम
Hmm.
so and I was like literally कि मतलब ना घर का रहा ना घाट का रहा so I was in that
Beach
position
mein.
and the mind really it was like a very tough time. Mind was really an enemy who
Hmm.
didn't allow me to take the practice nicely, ask
Hmm.
questions, and
Hmm.
it really troubled me a lot during that initial time.
Okay. So now you can continue. You can continue with the answer to the next question. So how did you make the mind a friend, or it's still a enemy, or what is the situation?
Somehow it is
Again,
getting
some.
on pendulum is moving slightly
Slightly which way? Enemy or friend?
towards a friend.
Okay. So how you are doing that?
So by not listening to mind and listening to the Prabhupada and to the acharyas, to the scriptures, and following to the best of my capacity, whatever has been said. That's
Okay, fine. Okay, good. So by following the instructions of Guru and Krishna, one tries to make the mind a friend. Okay, good.
Krishna.
हाँ हाँ बोलो बोलो हाँ ठीक ठीक है दोनों के पास माइक है कोई तो बोलो
In case mind is a friend. Sometimes when I just when I read the Prabhupada books, that time some things understand, means the philosophy and how our soul and how progress is going on. That time minds likes that thing because that new things, and to understand that new thing is always like, and mind always increasing desire how this thing goes, and then reading increases because minds like that. This case mind becomes friend. And sometimes in case of enemy, example of mobile, sometimes mind thought we want to see spiritual things in mobile, and so we will see ISKCON's things. But when we go in mobile, that time we see 1 2 3 video of ISKCON and then automatically divert to wrong things. And that
non-ISKCON.
time mind direct become enemy. And that we, if we want to control, then that time we cannot control because stages of mind actually goes on high stage. There we cannot control. So that time it has become so enemy mind.
Correct. Okay, so how did you make the mind friend? By reading Prabhupada books.
Yes, that time understand we cannot control on high stage. It's it is good to finally to give up that thing. So now we have
Give
given
up the mobile.
mobile. Then it is become friend. It's better. It's direct
Correct.
from root. It is destroyed.
Correct. But the mind is still there.
Yeah, mind is still there. Wrong things. Thinking is also coming, but not activity happening.
So anyway, one distraction.
Harish,
हाँ
we can speak in Hindi.
हाँ बोलो हिंदी ओडिया जो भी
प्रजे ये चैंटिंग करने के टाइम मेरा माइंड इधर उधर जाता था तो मैं
अच्छा ज्यादा था अभी नहीं जा
अभी भी जा रहा है तो मैं क्या किया सोचा कि आगे कुछ भगवान का फोटो और लोटस विटी ऐसे रखता हूँ तो ऐसे किया प्रिंट आउट करके ला के रखा आगे तो फिर माइंड मतलब ये लेने का जरूरत नहीं है यार फिर मैं उसको नहीं ले रहा हूँ अभी तो वो सोचा कि हाँ लूँ फिर अभी नहीं ले रहा ऐसा माइंड मेरे को चिट कर रहा है
तो फिर अभी क्या किया
तो अभी फिर ला के रखना है।
अच्छा, good. Okay. हाँ हाँ, पीछे दो.
So same way in I have realized that the mind cheats whenever we don't listen to authorities and we are not in association. So I try to be most in association of the devotees, that thing. And then while chanting, mind actually roams around and different thoughts comes. So many things I tried, like sing the Hare Krishna mantra, virtually, like Hare Krishna, that I tried. And then sometimes I was doing parikrama also. I tried that. In the mind only, I tried some parikrama.
अच्छा, which parikrama?
Vrindavan parikrama I tried.
अच्छा, whole one. Good. Whole Vrindavan parikrama.
Yes, I tried that. Then it was
To work, huh?
controlled. It was
Sure.
controlled. But later on, it again started bothering. Then I tried.
Then it created new Vrindavan.
And create something different
New.
thing in the Vrindavan. while doing parikrama only, mind creates something different.
Detour.
Then I'm trying to put this Hare Krishna Mantra card and sing there. So that I'm trying. So different things tried, but the mind cheats there. Then I try some different methods and continue for some months, some weeks. Then there also some problem happens. Then again some other method. So I don't know.
So how many methods you've invented so far?
Sometimes like DT Radha Krishna, in the mind only sing and then chanting. Sometimes that, and then Hare Krishna word, and then Vrindavan Parikrama, Govardhan Parikrama.
Mayapur? Not yet done, huh?
No, not yet, not yet. In future, I'll try. Better than I heard, like better than material thoughts. At least this, photos and
Positive. So what Prabhupada said, what one must do while chanting?
so just a year.
Only here, no parikrama. Only here. That should be the only business. So Prabhupada says that the Hare Krishna Mahamantra must be trapped between the tongue and the ear. The mantra must be trapped. So only one thing, chanting, hearing, chanting, hearing. That is the way to control it. So the entire focus must be on chanting, hearing, chanting, hearing, chanting. Okay. In between, sometimes it's okay, but you'll keep seeing, after some time, you'll start seeing something else. So that is why Prabhupada said only one thing. Chant here, chant here, chant here. That's how the mind is focused. Of course, not so easy. Takes some time. Okay, but definitely good attempts. You can, no. Seeing and chanting, but the main focus should be on hearing. Somebody else?
So, I observed myself that I before we only go, especially going for prasadam time, when some nice prasadam is there, then mind says that have a little more. What's the problem? Then I generally used to take little more. and due to overeating, I used to feel little sleepy. So I understood that, and later mind will say that you only ate. Why are you now telling this? So in the both ways, mind acts sometimes. First, it will incite us to do something, then later on, it will make us feel that we have done the
Repent.
guilt. Yeah.
Mm.
So like we're discussing, like mind sometimes acts as advocate, and the next time it acts as judge. Chetan Prabhu says.
Mm.
So what I did for that, this kind of behavior of the mind, I reduced the size of my plate, so so that whatever I take, that is within the limits. So it
Okay, so
helped me.
mind will say now plate is small, take 3 times.
Till now, it is
Acha, till now
fine.
you have been able to control successfully.
Yes.
Good, great. Now, so okay, online ways to control the mind.
Guruji, one thing which I can think of is many times, like in regarding to chanting, many times the mind tells that there are many more important things to do also.
Mm.
So I mean, generally, I took like a resolution in Karthik that I'll chant some extra rounds, 4 rounds extra.
Mm.
So, but then mind many times it kind of gives that no, you have many other things. You can in that time, half an hour, you can read Prabhupada book also more.
Mm.
So, but then I used to think that no, if I've taken this commitment, let me do it. So that is one thing. And of course, I shared that with my superiors. They told that yes, it is okay. So then we do it under that. So then the mind kind of cannot give like big commentary about it. That okay, you have taken it, to do it. So the point is that if like mind may tell that okay, there are many, but if we do it under the instruction of superiors, then it cannot have much more room for like opposing.
Okay, good. Okay, so following instructions, superior's guidance, yes. Okay, good. Ah,
Taking small vows, giving the target to the mind, then mind follow
like?
that. Uh, Just like if waking up early,
Mm.
slowly we can just like in starting also we were not able to wake up, but we're giving the target. Superiors
Mhm.
give the target, wake up this
Mm.
time.
Mm.
Just like it can be followed in every aspects.
Okay, taking small targets. Yes, that's definitely a good way. Okay, online someone? Ways to control the mind. Very
Yeah,
ah.
one thing, uh, one thing is that like when chanting, when mind suggests some many plan making ideas, that we can do this or other.
Mm.
So either we can talk to the mind or we can write in a diary that we'll do it later, like postponing the thing. That helps,
Mm.
but that otherwise at that particular type of point of time, the mind keeps on munching about the same thought. I have to do this or do that. But if we
Mm.
fix a time or make a schedule of the day, okay, at this particular time I'll do that, so then mind becomes peaceful.
Okay, fine. Okay, any last one? Wait, online, anyone?
Hare Krishna,
Also,
Prabhuji.
Ah.
So
Ah,
like anger, I had shared that we should avoid or we should delay. Am I audible, Prabhuji?
हाँ बोलो.
Yeah. So for anger, we can delay that time. We can avoid that particular time. Ready to take revenge or do something. Then if we are able to take some time, few seconds, then it helps. We can avoid
Okay, so if
situations.
one is angry, then avoid
It
response.
had happened. Yes.
Oh.
And for lust, we can ignore initially at initial stage. That is best. But somehow if we cannot ignore, then tolerating also becomes difficult. Then final case is preaching.
Mm.
We can remember some shlokas which inspired us. We can remember some talks of Maharaj or
Okay.
our counselors, which
Mm. Okay. Okay, fine. Okay. Huh? Analogy. Okay, analogies, bolo.
I have two analogy.
Ah.
So one is in Bhagavatam only. It is
Ah.
said that one unchaste woman
Ah.
is very easily carried away with the paramour.
Mm.
And so
You
sometimes
explain the whole analogy.
I will just read one translation and then.
Okay.
So an unchaste woman is very easily carried away by the paramours, and it sometimes happens that her husband is violently killed by her paramours. If the yogi gives his mind a chance and does not restrain it, his mind will give facility to enemies like lust, anger, and greed, and they will doubtlessly kill the yogi. So here, unchaste woman is compared to a mind,
Yes.
and
Who's the husband?
intelligent
Intelligence. Yes, the intelligence
or
of the
yogi.
yogi. And
And paramour
Hmm.
is compared to lust and all.
Right.
It will kill the.
Yes. So the mind, along with Kam, Krodh, Lobh, they kill the intelligence of the yogi. So that's how the intelligence does not work. Big attack is there. So sometimes we all have experienced, right? We know what is right, what's wrong, we know, but still the mind overpowers. Because mind, so many gundas, all of them attack. So, yes, that's one. I know what you're going to say. Bolo?
So once one rider was riding in the horse, and so while riding, he was seeing so many objects on the side also. So when he was riding, he was very confident that I am now stable. Now horse is properly moving forward. So he's getting distracted toward all the different things on the side. So once upon that time came that he was fully absorbed on the side objects and he was not focusing on the horse. So now the horse has the power that he can make that rider fall and make him kill. Similarly, Shastra says that Manorathena dhavato hi bhai. On the cart of on the
Chariot.
chariot, mind is riding. So if there are so many sense objects, if you see, like goal is a Krishna consciousness. So on the side of it, there are so many sense enjoyments are there. If you are just getting distracted, then this mind can make us fall and trapped.
Okay. Okay. Some other analogies? Bolo, Sadhu.
So mind is compared to the elephant. Then if elephant is controlled,
Mad elephant.
mad elephant. If he is controlled by his master, then his friend. And in mad session, like at Hathimata, so it goes and destroyed the garden. So if is not controlled by master, so then it's destroy the bhakti, the garden of bhakti. So the mind has to always meditate and follow the instructions of superior.
Okay, good. Something else?
Mind is compared to a knife.
Ah.
So if knife is in the hand of a surgeon, it can save one's life. And if it is not, if it is in the hand of a dacoit, it can take a life.
Yes, mind compared to knife. Okay, online?
Roji, mind is compared to a wild animal. So hunter who's capturing the wild animal must be very much vigilant and guard against. Otherwise, that wild animal may anytime can escape and kill the hunter.
Right. So, so the example is that just like a hunter captures an animal and while he's taking, he's always very alert because anytime the animal can escape and attack the hunter. So similarly, one always needs to be alert that any time the mind can escape. So at no point of time one can think, now my mind is under control, I'm safe. No. At every moment one needs to be alert. Any time the mind will go out of control and take one somewhere else.
I heard the story of the jinn. Mind is compared to the jinn.
Okay.
And he wants always engagements. So he tells that if you don't give me engagement, then I'll kill you. So the man goes to the sadhu and the sadhu says that just make him climb up the ladder and then go down the ladder. So that going up the ladder and coming down the ladder is compared to chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. So we make the mind chant.
So throughout the day you do only chanting?
Services.
Okay, so engage the mind in different services. Yes. Any other?
Online. Mind is compared to a child and intelligence is compared to
what?
wife.
Child.
Mother.
Whose mother?
Mind is mother is intelligence and
Mother
child
is
is compared to the mind.
Uh-huh.
So whenever mother takes whenever child is diseased, then mother takes to doctor. Doctor gives prescriptions to the mother, not to the child, because it is mother's duty to feed the medicine to the child. So that a doctor is compared to spiritual master.
Okay, okay. Bolo. Okay, the analogy of the chariot. Yes. 5 horses are the senses and mind is? Yes, the reins of the horses. Yes. Okay, so in this way, different ways, different analogies, different ways to control the mind. There is one nice verse. You have the Bhagavatam open there, no? It's 13th chapter, last verse, or see 13th chapter, last verse. 5th canto, 13th chapter, last verse. 17th verse.
That
Huh?
Ankushastra,
Read.
Hari Guru.
Read translation. अरे पूरा पढ़ो ना.
Being cheated by them, the living entity in the forest of the material world tries to give up the association of a so-called yogis and swamis and incarnation.
Not this one. Yeah, online somebody was saying something. Or see the previous chapter, last verse, 12th chapter, last verse, or in one of those chapters, I'm not recollecting.
That Radhisham, that
Huh?
Guru, yes, I'll just find out that. The instruction of spiritual master.
Yes. Which verse is that?
Instruction of?
Just a minute.
What's 12th chapter, last verse? Hmm?
That is 11th chapter, 17th verse.
Acha, okay, 11th chapter. Okay, go to 11th chapter, last verse.
This uncontrolled mind.
Mm-hmm.
This uncontrolled mind is the greatest enemy of the living entity. If one neglects it and give it a chance, it will grow more and more powerful and will become victorious. Although it is not factual, it is very strong. It covers the constitutional position of the soul. O king, please try to conquer this mind by the weapon of service to the lotus feet of spiritual master and of the personality of God, supreme personality of Godhead.
Yes.
Do this with great care.
So in the Sanskrit it says what? Hari Guru Charana Upasana Astra, correct?
Yes. Guru Hari Charana.
Guru Hari Charana Upasana Astra. So the astra, the weapon to control the mind is Hari Guru Charana Upasana. This is the and nice purport.
But there is a one easy weapon with which the mind can be conquered: disobedience.
Yes, the easy way to control the mind is disobedience. Neglect the mind. When the mind gives unfavorable thoughts, neglects.
The mind is always telling us to do this or that. Therefore, we should be very expert in disobeying the mind's order. Gradually, the mind should be trained to obey the orders of the soul. It is not that one should obey the orders of the mind. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say that to control the mind, one should beat it with shoes many times just after awakening and again before going to sleep. In this way, one can control the mind. This is the instruction of all the Shastras. If one does not do so, one is doomed to follow the dictation of the mind. Another bona fide process to abide strictly by the orders of the spiritual master and engage in the Lord's service. Then the mind will be automatically controlled. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has instructed Srila Rupa Goswami, Pramanda Brahmita Kona Bhagyavan Jiyu, Guru Krishna Prasade Paye Bhakti Lata Abhis. When one receives the seeds of devotional service by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one's real life begins. If one abides by the orders of the spiritual master, by the grace of Krishna, is freed from the service to the mind.
Yes. So what is this beating of the mind with shoes and broomstick? Hmm? Okay, chanting.
Reminding mind of instruction of spiritual master sadhus.
Okay, so reminding the mind of the instructions of Guru and Krishna, yes. So for us, morning program, that's what we do in the morning program, correct? Chanting the holy names, hearing Bhagavatam. So that's the way to control the mind. So morning program, evening program, Prabhupada has given both.
But what is about beating the mind while going to sleep?
That's what I'm saying. Morning program, evening program, Prabhupada has given both.
Going for sleep, then one has to sleep.
Before that what?
Yeah.
Before that what?
We have to prepare that I have to go sleep early.
But before that what? Prabhupada told something, no? What you can do before sleeping?
Krishna book reading.
Krishna book reading. That is beating the mind with broom at night before sleeping. And of course, before that, there is also Gaurarti, Bhagavad Gita class. All that Prabhupada gave. That is the way to control the mind. In these purports, Prabhupada writes some nice sentences. In the fifth verse purport, Prabhupada writes that therefore the mind should be trained, so that it will not be attracted by the glitter of material nature. Prabhupada also gives some nice, you open Nectar of Instruction, 8th verse. Read the first, initial part of the purport. There also Prabhupada is talking about mind.
Since the mind may be one's enemy or one's friend, one has to train the mind to become his friend.
One has to train the mind to become friend. So there also is talking about training. Again?
This Krishna, the Krishna conscious movement is specially meant for training the mind.
The Krishna conscious movement is specifically meant for training the mind.
To be always engaged in Krishna's business.
To be always engaged in Krishna's business.
The mind contains hundreds and thousands of impressions, not only of this life, but also of many, many lives of the past. These impressions sometimes come in contact with one another, and produce contradictory pictures.
If you want to know details of this, you have to read the 29th chapter of the 4th canto. Narad Muni's talks with Maharaj Prachin Barishad. 4th canto, 29th chapter. So there Narad Muni explains in great details about the mind. So this point that Prabhupada is writing here, there he gives examples. So just like the mind has impression of gold and mountain, and sometimes the mind combines both and one sees a golden mountain. So that's how in dreams, the mind combines different images because so many unlimited impressions are there. So the mind combines different things and that's how one sees different images in the mind during dreams. Again?
In this way, the mind's functions can become dangerous for a conditioned soul. Students of psychology are aware of the mind's various psychological changes. In Bhagavad Gita 8.6 it is said, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tajante ante kalevaram tam tam evati konteya satat bhava bhavita. Whatever state of being one remember when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail.
Right. So basically, the condition of the subtle body is something which is very important. In that chapter, Narad Muni is elaborately explaining about the nature of the subtle body and how important it is to control the subtle body. Because ultimately, the subtle body carries one to the next gross body, correct? So therefore, controlling and changing, and as Prabhupada says, training the subtle body is something which is very, very important. So, so further on here, Prabhupada is writing, the best way to disentangle oneself is to always engage the mind in Krishna consciousness. Okay, so keep the mind busy in Krishna consciousness. And the last sentence, therefore, the mind which is always engaged in Krishna consciousness is the cause of supreme liberation. And in the next purport, he says, unless the mind is controlled, the practice of yoga for show is simply a waste of time. One who cannot control his mind lives always with the greatest enemy, and thus his life and his mission are spoiled. The constitutional position of the living entity is to carry out the order of the superior. As long as one's mind remains an unconquered enemy, one has to serve the dictation of lust, anger, avarice. But when the mind is conquered, one voluntarily agrees to abide by the dictation of the personality of Godhead who is situated within the heart of everyone as Paramatma. For one who takes to Krishna consciousness directly, perfect surrender to the dictation of the Lord follows automatically. Okay, so in this way, one basically has to follow the dictations of Guru and Krishna, and that's how one will be able to control the mind.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, under whose dictation the Gyan yogis control their mind? Because they go for the impersonal Brahman. So they are not going for Paramatma realization or for Bhagwan.
No, but then they also have their sadhana. They also have their sadhana of studying the scriptures, performing severe austerities, and they also have their gurus. They also have their gurus, spiritual masters, in their respective paths.
As I heard in your lecture recording, I was hearing that those who are in Bhakti Yogi, those like us, we are doing the Bhakti Yoga. It is said that we have already cleared the all different yoga. So how we can know that it has been cleared? Because we are now, our stage is that we have don't have the Gyan yoga. We're not that much qualified. Not Karma yoga also, Niskam, that we are not doing. So is a mixture or what?
So basically, when it said that one has already performed all the other paths, it is true because one has reached the topmost realization. The realization is topmost, correct? Bhagwan realization, that is topmost. No? So that is why it is understood that one has already done all the other processes. But now, in the path of bhakti, one has not yet reached the top. But in terms of realization, it is the topmost. So just like one may have reached PhD level, but in PhD also there will be different stages, no? So somebody has just begun, somebody is in midway, somebody is in the final year, different stages, right? It's like that. So we are on the top, but still there are different stages. Okay? Anything else? Okay, so the next three verses are talking about the characteristics of one on the Yoga Ruda platform, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, we'll take a break and then continue. Hare Krishna.
Pratika.
हरे कृष्णा। हरि बोल। कितने डिवोटीज के पास फोटो नहीं है अपना बिल्कुल भी, अशोक प्रभु और अच्युत प्रभु के अलावा? बाकी सबके पास एटलीस्ट? हाँ हाँ,
मेरे पास भी नहीं है।
चलेगा चलेगा।
प्रभु कौन सा फोटो?
पासपोर्ट
आपका
साइज
नगर
फोटो
सेंटर का फोटो
भक्ति
है, नगर
शास्त्री,
सेंटर।
भक्ति शास्त्री फॉर्म को लगाने के लिए।
सूरजपुर का है, सूरजपुर का फॉर्म भर के मेरे पास मैं दे दूँ, उधर ही है। सूरजपुर का कंप्लीट है मेरा।
अरे बोल, सूरजपुर का फोटो एक है 2 साल का, चलेगा ना? जब वो 2 साल के थे, ये चलेगा पासपोर्ट से?
हरि बोल। 2 साल का
मेरे पास नहीं है, आपके पास कहाँ से आया?
तथा देहांतर प्राप्तिस कौमारम यौवनम जरा।
ओजीबीसी।
दर्शन दो अपने, कौन बोल रहे हैं?
सुधांशु प्रभु।
कहाँ है वंशीधर को?
रिकॉर्डिंग बंद किया क्या सुधांशु प्रभु? सुधांशु प्रभु रिकॉर्डिंग बंद किया है क्या?
नहीं।
अरे ना, अरे बोल नहीं किया है वो उन्होंने।
अरे ये सारा रिकॉर्ड हो जाएगा भैया, बंद करो।
Okay. Okay, so we're discussing this. This Bhagavad Gita is the science of Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada has written on, even on the cover of Nectar of Devotion. What Prabhupada has written? Cover of Nectar of Devotion, you have seen?
Complete science of self-realization.
Yes, the complete science of Bhakti Yoga. So what is the meaning of science? Same thing as it is. Same thing as it is. What is the meaning of science? Going through? That means science is, yes, it is unchangeable and it is universally applicable and verifiable. That is science, correct? Prabhupada's another example is? Okay, that's also correct. That's also correct. Yes. So another example Prabhupada gives is hydrogen plus oxygen is equal to water. That's applicable everywhere. So similarly, 2 plus 2 equal to 4, applicable everywhere. So similarly, Bhakti Yoga is a science. So it's applicable everywhere, and whoever practices it will experience the results without doubt. That is meaning of science. So therefore, one should have full faith that this is science. If one applies, the result is guaranteed. And if one does not apply as given by the physician, one will not get the result. So one cannot try to manipulate. Sometimes in scientific experiments, students manipulate, correct? When they don't get result, they manipulate, somehow get the result. You have done, no? Everyone has done. Whoever is science student, everyone has done. So, but here there is no such manipulation. There you can manipulate. Here what you'll manipulate? Here Krishna is in control, no manipulation. So one has to follow. One has to follow the path as it is. Then result is guaranteed. That's the meaning of science. Aage.
No one can become Krishna conscious simply by mundane scholarship.
Yes, no one can become Krishna conscious simply by mundane scholarship. So many people try to become mundane scholars in Shastra. So such mundane scholarship is not going to help. So one has to be convinced of these things. Otherwise, especially those who are coming from intellectual backgrounds, It's easy to become a scholar in Shastra. And one thinks that's it. Now I know so many scriptures, I've become a great scholar. That means I'm a great devotee. No, it doesn't work that way. And the best example of this is who? Yes, Romarshan. So he was a mundane scholar, but Lord Balram said, your scholarship is useless. Because no good qualities like humility. So therefore, Lord Balram said, your scholarship is like what? What is the example Balram gave?
Actor playing its role on the stage.
Yes, an actor playing his part on stage. So Lord Balram said, your scholarship is simply big show, useless. So therefore he killed him. Okay, next.
One must be fortunate enough to associate with a person who is in pure consciousness.
So now Prabhupada is, so first of all, Prabhupada said, why realized knowledge is important? Because one can understand Krishna only by realized knowledge. And now he's explaining how to obtain realized knowledge. So the first step in that is what? Associate with a person in pure consciousness. That is the first step. The first step to get realized knowledge is association. Aage.
A Krishna conscious person has realized knowledge by the grace of Krishna because he is satisfied with pure devotional service.
Yes. A Krishna conscious person has realized knowledge. How? How the Krishna conscious person has realized knowledge? By the grace of Krishna. So who gives realization? Every morning what we sing? Divya Gyan Hridhay Prakashito. So that is realized knowledge, Divya Gyan. Transcendental knowledge, realized knowledge is bestowed upon the disciple by the grace of the Guru. It is not mundane scholarship. And so therefore, we should be clear on this point that academic knowledge has nothing to do with realized knowledge. And in our movement, we have enough examples of this. And even in the Shastra, we have example. From the Shastra, who's the best example? Illiterate person.
Hiranyakasipu also spoke philosophy, but he did not mean philosophy.
Correct. That is the negative example.
South Indian Brahmana who was reading Bhagavad Gita in Sri Rangam temple.
So the example is, yes, and Gaurkishodas Babaji also, yes. So the best example is the South Indian Brahmin who was illiterate, but he couldn't understand anything. He didn't know how to read the verses of Bhagavad Gita. But he got full realization of Krishna. He was seeing Krishna. He was seeing Krishna when the pages of Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna came in front of him also as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he was illiterate. But why he got that realized knowledge? Yes. My Guru told me to read 18 chapters. I'm trying. He didn't argue with his Guru. What type of instruction you have given? I can't read and you're telling me to read every day. He didn't argue. Simply tried to follow. And the result was the Supreme Lord, the speaker of Bhagavad Gita, came there and gave him certificates. You have actually understood the Bhagavad Gita. So without going through Bhakti Shastri course, he got certificate. Simply by following the instructions of the Guru. So that is how realized knowledge comes through grace of Krishna. And in our movement also, there are so many devotees who may not be academically well qualified, but still they become great devotees in our movement. And so many of them coming from hippie background, no education. But simply by their surrender to Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, became exalted devotees. So therefore, one has to be convinced of this statement here. What? Yes. A Krishna conscious person has realized knowledge by the grace of Krishna, because why he gets the grace of Krishna? Because he is satisfied. The devotee is satisfied with only pure devotional service. He doesn't want anything else. The only thing the devotee wants is pure devotional service. Because the devotee is satisfied with only pure devotional service, so therefore Krishna is pleased with that. Nadanam, najanam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadish kam, mama janmani, janmanishware, bhavatad, bhakti, rahituki tvai. So because the devotee is satisfied with pure devotional service, Krishna is pleased, and then he awards him realized knowledge. Again.
By realized knowledge, one becomes perfect. By transcendental knowledge, one can remain steady in his convictions. But by mere academic knowledge, one can be easily deluded and confused by apparent contradictions.
So now Prabhupada is explaining what is the result of realized knowledge. See how Prabhupada's purports are so systematic. First, Prabhupada explained why realized knowledge is required. Second, he explained how to obtain realized knowledge. And then he's explaining the effects of getting realized knowledge. See in that one paragraph how much condensed nectar. So much is condensed within that one paragraph. Now, one entire seminar can be given on this. So much is condensed. So, therefore, if one simply reads Prabhupada purport superficially, one will not gain anything. One of them, what is that about? But you see every sentence, how much depth of meaning is there? Every sentence. So, if one has realized knowledge, the result of realized knowledge is what? One can remain steady in his convictions. Because it's a realization. Now, we were giving the gulab jamun example, you remember? So, once one has the taste, then one is convinced that gulab jamun is tasty. Then nobody can distract him from that conviction. Correct? No one can distract him. Now, if anybody tells any one of you, Are you know gulab jamun, it is bitter. Who will believe? Anyone believe? Will there even be the slightest of doubt? One is convinced. That is the meaning of conviction. So similarly, one is told Krishna consciousness is nectar, condensed nectar. It's blissful. So how many of us are convinced? So some are saying, sense gratification is not so bad. But when one has that realized knowledge, it's an experience. It's an experience. So when one has that experience of the bliss of Krishna consciousness, then fixed in his conviction, steady. Why? Because there's no other option. Because one is convinced Krishna consciousness is wonderful. So when one is convinced, then he remains steady. Then no one can distract him from that. No one can distract. But by mere academic knowledge, one can be easily deluded and confused by apparent contradictions. So if one only has theoretical knowledge, then tomorrow somebody will say something, he reads something, then he gets confused. Oh, is this correct? Or is something else correct? Why? Because it's only academic knowledge. Okay, continue.
It is the realized soul who is actually self-controlled because he is surrendered to Krishna.
Yes, it is the realized soul who is actually self-controlled. Because if the realization is not there, one can be distracted. So today one may practice very strictly, then tomorrow Maya will offer some allurements, then one will be deluded because one doesn't have the realization, one doesn't have that full conviction that the only thing I need to practice is devotional service, nothing else. So when the conviction is not there, then there is possibility of distraction, delusion. So all those things can happen. And to get that, what is required? Surrender to Krishna. So when the surrender to Krishna is there, then Krishna gives those realizations, then that's how one becomes fixed, steady. So ultimately it is surrender to Krishna, surrender to the Guru, following the instructions of Guru and Krishna. So this is the way to become steady in one's devotional service. And there is no other way. There is no other way. There are no shortcuts to this. Okay, continue.
He is transcendental because he has nothing to do with mundane scholarship. For his mundane scholarship and mental speculation, which may be as good as gold to others, are of no greater value than pebbles or stones.
He has nothing to do with mundane scholarship. Mundane scholarship and mental speculation, which may be as good as gold to others, are of no greater value than pebbles or stones. So if one doesn't have that conviction and realization, then one becomes attracted to mundane scholarship. So somebody presents something very technical, sophisticated, one becomes impressed. Oh. Or somebody presents something speculatory. Somebody who does a lot of word jugglery and speculation, and with that word jugglery, there could be a lot of humor. So somebody who is not fixed in Krishna consciousness becomes attracted to that. And there's one lecture Srila Prabhupada is giving on the 15th chapter of the first canto. One of the verses is speaking about the symptoms of Kali Yuga. And it's mentioned that this is one of the symptoms of Kali Yuga, that people become attracted to word jugglery and mental speculation. And when Prabhupada gives a lecture on that verse, Prabhupada does mimicry of word jugglery. Anybody heard that lecture? You heard? It's very funny. If you hear it, devotees are just laughing and laughing. You can hear in the recording. It's so funny. Prabhupada is doing some word jugglery. So he's speaking some words which have no meaning, basically. Some word jugglery. So that's symptom of Kali Yuga. So somebody is able to do word jugglery and make people laugh, then the person becomes very popular. And of course, we can factually see that happening. Nothing to be surprised about. That is symptom of Kali Yuga. But then one who's fixed in devotional service, he is never attracted by that. For one who's fixed in devotional service, all that is what? No greater value than pebbles or stone. For common people, that may be as good as gold. But for one who is fixed in transcendental realization, all that is useless. So there's a very beautiful purport explaining why realized knowledge is important, how to obtain realized knowledge, and what are the effects of realized knowledge. So anytime one wants to discuss on the importance of realized knowledge, this is a classic purport. Okay, now the next verse. Surin mitraryudasina madhyastadvaishya bandhushu sadhushvapi cha papeshu samabuddhir vishishyate. A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral mediators, the envious friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with an equal mind. So this is considered to be a higher stage than the previous verse. Why? Because it is easy for this, now this, we're talking about whom? Yogi. We're talking about, this is Yoga Rudha, very advanced yogi. So even within that, there are gradations. So for this yogi, see, the yogi is somewhere in the Himalayas, in the forest. What he'll do with gold? What he'll do with gold? Use. So therefore, for him, gold, pebble, stone makes no difference. But to consider people on the same level is more difficult. So gold, stones, that's easy. But to consider enemies, friends, neutral people all on the same level, that's even more difficult. So here the story which is Honest Radhan Maharaj talks about the two yogis in the Himalayas. How many heard it? Okay, only one. Okay, so there were these two yogis in the Himalayas. Think about it, the yogis in the caves of the Himalayas. What are their possessions? Nothing. But still, somehow one of those yogis became popular. And then many people started visiting him. I don't know, maybe he had some mystic siddhis or whatever. Right? Acha, after Maharaj wrote. Oh, I see. Because Maharaj met him. Oh, like that. Oh, like that. Huh? Okay, okay, then the after effects of that, then Maharaj speaks that in another lecture. So then, okay, so he became popular, and there was this other yogi staying about 1 kilometer away in another cave. He was not getting any followers. He was not popular. And so what happened? Envy. So he became enemy. Because he's getting more followers, he became enemy. And he became envious, he became burning with envy. Why is getting so many followers, so popular? And so he managed to get a rifle. Yogis in the Himalayas. So that is why this is higher stage. To see friends and enemies and mediators and neutral people all on the same level is much more difficult than seeing gold and stones on the same level. Okay, fine. हाँ तो क्या हुआ?
Means in action, is it some difference or is just considering it in mind? Just want to understand.
Everything comes in the mind first, then it'll come in action. Isn't it? Initially, everything comes in the mind, na?
Yeah.
That's what we told the story. So initially it's coming in the mind, the envy is coming in the mind. Then the friend became enemy. And then the action came later. ठीक है ना?
Brahmane Gavi Hasti Nishanchaya, that verse, almost similar.
The principle is the same. But then there the realization is different. So there, that person is the jnani there, he's basically, he understands that there are different bodies influenced by different modes. But the spirit soul, super soul are the same. Now, this is a higher realization than that. So this person, he is he's seeing that how everyone is ultimately part and parcel of Krishna. Ultimately, everyone is being controlled by the Supreme Lord. And so therefore, with that mentality, he's able to see them equally. So that realization is seeing soul and super soul. And the body is being influenced by the modes. But this is higher because he's seeing the relationship of the soul with the super soul and how the super soul is controlling everything. And so this is a higher realization. Okay, fine. So now we're proceeding. Next section, 10 to 27, stages in yoga practice and samadhi. So these are some things which we can go through quickly. But this is again good for your essay. You know your other OBA question?
Establish in your words the superiority of bhakti over the other yoga systems with reference to verse and purports from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2 to 6. In your answer, explain the following. A. The impracticality of yoga systems other than Bhakti Yoga in Kali Yuga.
Yes, so you'll get many points for that in this section. Impracticality of other yoga systems. So that's what you'll find, many points to that over here. The other parts of the question we'll discuss tomorrow. Okay, fine. 10th verse. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi stitah ekaki yata chittatma nirashira parigraha. A transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind and self in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place, should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. So there are a lot of rules and regulations. So here it said, rahasi stitaha. Secluded place, not in the cities. So Prabhupada writes that in the purport. So one has to go to some sacred place, secluded place, on the banks of the Yamuna or Ganges somewhere. And so that is one challenge. And ekaki, alone. Alone in the forest. If one is told to live alone in the city, only becomes difficult. What to speak of forest? So, and yata chittatma, so controlling the mind, nirashi, Nirashi, no asha. No asha for sense gratification. No asha for getting this, getting that, laptop, mobile, nothing. No asha. Nirashi. And aparigraha. Aparigraha. Free from feelings of possessiveness. This is mine. This laptop is mine. No. Nothing. Only Kamandalu. How many will live? Without laptop, mobile, one day survival is difficult, correct? $15 back, we didn't have either. We neither had mobile nor laptop. Still we lived. Okay. So all these are challenges, huh? What?
Because of this kind of previous situations, many youths were not joining like all this. In youths, they were not taking the trainings. Just asking.
So what are you trying to say?
No, like this command law, nobody can connect also in youth. All that.
That's why Prabhupada built nice buildings so that people like you and me can come. With all big degrees. That's why others Prabhupada said, I can live under tree, I have no problem. But who will come? That is why Prabhupada did what is required for the modern age. Time, place, circumstances. That's why Prabhupada is glorified for what he did. So in the second paragraph, Prabhupada writes, the first business of a transcendentalist is to keep the mind always on Krishna. He's explaining that, Yata Chittatma. Keep the mind always on Krishna. One should always think of Krishna and not forget him even for a moment. Concentration of the mind on the Supreme is called samadhi or trance. In order to concentrate the mind, one should always remain in seclusion and avoid disturbance by external objects. It should be, but the principles still apply even now. These principles still apply. So even though we have all these things, but we should not get distracted by them. We should not allow ourselves to become distracted. Avoid disturbance with external objects. Very careful to accept favorable and reject unfavorable conditions that affect his realization. And in perfect determination, he should not hanker after unnecessary material things that entangle him by feelings of possessiveness. Unnecessary material things. Okay, so one should not be allured by unnecessary material things. So some new type of mobile comes, I want that also. Another variety of laptop, more facility, that also. So, and what not gadgets come these days. So it's not that one simply attracted to all of them. Nowadays, what? Tablets and this and that. So there's no end. So that's what Prabhupada is writing, not hanker after all these things. Yes, yes, it is applicable. Seclusion means association with devotees. For us, seclusion means only association with devotees. That is our seclusion. But this yogi is actual seclusion. Actually alone. Ekaki. And then Prabhupada is describing about Yukta Vairagya, Falgu Vairagya. And then Prabhupada writes, a Krishna conscious person well knows that everything belongs to Krishna, and thus he is always free from the feelings of personal possession. As such, he has no hankering for anything on his own personal account. He knows how to accept things in favor of Krishna consciousness and how to reject things unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. He is always aloof from material things because he is always transcendental and is always alone, having nothing to do with persons not in Krishna consciousness. That is our ekaki. For us, that is ekaki. Always alone, having nothing to do with persons not in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a person in Krishna consciousness is the perfect yogi. Okay, 11, 12. Shuchau deshe pratishtapya stiram asanam atmanah natyuchritam nati nicham chailajana kushottaram tatraikagram manakritva yata chittendriya kriyah Upavishyasane yunjat yogam atma vishuddhaye. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the ground, then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. Seat should neither be too high nor too low, should be situated in a sacred place. Yogi should then sit on it very firmly. Practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities, fixing the mind on one point. I think so. Last week only, we heard Prabhupada's lecture on this, I think. No? Today also there were some points, but last week the entire lecture was basically based on this only. So there Prabhupada was explaining all these points, focusing on the tip of the nose and all those things. So it should not be. So the deer skin, because deer skin has some chemicals to repel insects and snakes. And then the eyes should not be fully open or fully closed. If it is fully open, he'll get distracted. If they're fully closed, he goes to sleep. And then seat should not be too high or too low. If it is too low, then some other insects and all may trouble. If it is too high, he may fall down from there. Yes. Right. So here Prabhupada is speaking about how the so-called yoga societies in big cities may be successful in earning material benefit, but they're not all suitable for actual practice of yoga. In Bangalore, near our Whitefield Center, just opposite, there's one big building. It's started by RSS. It's written big bold letters, Ashtanga Yoga. Right in the middle of Bangalore. That's what Prabhupada is writing here. The so-called yoga societies in big cities may be successful in earning material benefits, but they're not at all suitable for the actual practice of yoga. Oh, it's possible. Okay, 13, 14. Samam kaya shirogrivam dharayannachalam stiraha sampreksha nasikagram swam dishaschanavalokayan prashantatma vikatabir brahmachari vrate stitaha mana sanyaya machitto yukta asita matparaha. One should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line, stare steadily at the tip of the nose, thus with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life. One should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. So that's the ultimate goal of these yogis. Krishna is personally saying, Machitto, Matparaha, meditate on me. Because Krishna is not different from Paramatma. So, sitting straight, erect. How many can sit? How much time? So, in our chanting, how many times we change postures in our chanting? in one lecture, Prabhupada is saying that my Guru Maharaj, he was Naishtik Brahmachari, so therefore he could sit straight and chant a long time. But then he said, no, it's not possible for us. We can't imitate. So you see, always Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, always straight. Naishtik Brahmachari. So all these things can come in your answer, not practical for Kali Yuga. So Prabhupada is writing, yes, because this is where the problem comes, no? And see, Nishkam Karma Yoga is a home business. That is in the home. That's no problem. The problem comes when? Forest. That's when the problem comes. So here also Prabhupada is writing, yoga process is practiced in order to discover and see this localized form of Vishnu and not for any other purpose. The localized Vishnu Murti is a plenary representation of Krishna dwelling within one's heart. One who has no program to realize this Vishnu Murti is uselessly engaged in mock yoga practice and is certainly wasting his time. And then further down, Prabhupada says that, so one has to observe complete abstinence from sex life. Therefore, one has to leave home, live alone in a secluded place, remain seated as mentioned above. One cannot enjoy sex life daily at home or elsewhere, attend a so-called yoga class, and thus become a yogi. One has to practice controlling mind, avoiding all kinds of sense gratification over sex life is the chief. And then he's quoting this verse of Yajnavalkya, definition of brahmacharya. Karmana manasa vacha sarvavasthasu sarvada sarvatra maithuna tyago brahmacharyam prachakshate. The vow of brahmacharya is meant to help one completely abstain from sex indulgence, work, words, and mind at all times, under all circumstances, at all places. No one can perform correct yoga practice through sex indulgence. Brahmacharya is taught therefore from childhood when one has no knowledge of sex, sent to the Gurukula. So further down he says, without such practice, no one can make advancement in any yoga, whether it be dhyana, jnana, or bhakti. One cannot make advancement. One who, however, follows the rules and regulations of married life, having a sexual relationship only with his wife, and that also under regulation, is also called brahmachari. But such a restrained householder brahmachari may be accepted in the bhakti school, but the jnana and the dhyana schools do not even admit householder brahmacharis. So for jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, so even householder brahmachari is not allowed. So only brahmacharis, not householder brahmacharis. They require complete abstinence without compromise. In the bhakti school, a householder brahmachari is allowed controlled sex life. Why? Because the cult of bhakti yoga is so powerful that one automatically loses sexual attraction, being engaged in the superior service of the Lord. So that is the reason why in the bhakti school, the grihasthas are allowed. And then it's going to be Shaiva and Vaidya. So whereas others are forced to restrain themselves from sense gratification, a devotee of the Lord automatically refrains because of superior taste. That is the main difference between bhakti and other paths. So therefore, on the other paths, there is more austerity because they are trying to control their mind and senses by their own endeavor. So therefore, it requires much more austerity, determination. But on the path of bhakti, one is accessing what? Krishna's mercy, Krishna's mercy. And then by attraction to Krishna, it becomes easy. And then he's describing Vigatabi. One cannot be fearless unless one is fully in Krishna consciousness. Bhayam Dutya Binasha. Therefore, perfect practice is possible for a person who is Krishna conscious. And since the ultimate goal of yoga practice is to see the Lord within, a Krishna conscious person is already the best of all yogis. Okay, I think so we can continue tomorrow. Okay, one question will.
Number 10 purpose is direct Krishna consciousness means self-abnegation, wherein there is very little chance for material possessiveness.
Okay.
Statements. About this anashaktasya vishan verse.
All these perfections and precautions are perfectly executed when one is directly in Krishna consciousness, because direct Krishna consciousness means self-abnegation, wherein there is very little chance for material possessiveness. Self-abnegation. Self-abnegation. No, no. It is the same principle of Yukta Vairagya. So because by one's own self, one is engaging everything in Krishna's service, understanding that everything belongs to Krishna, therefore a devotee automatically understands that nothing belongs to me. That is. So he doesn't have to forcibly renounce. That is the difference between Yukta Vairagya and Falgu Vairagya. So in Falgu Vairagya, one forcibly renounces. Nahi chahiye, nahi chahiye. So that is forcibly one tries to renounce. But in Yukta Vairagya, what? Automatically it happens. Because a devotee understands that nothing belongs to me. Everything belongs to Krishna. So because one understands this philosophy, therefore automatically on his own, he doesn't possess anything. He doesn't have to do something separately for that renunciation. Just by understanding that everything belongs to Krishna, automatically he renounces everything. Nothing belongs to me. Okay? Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Sumit Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. That is why Vigatabi. Krishna's will. Now that is what the yogi is supposed to think. No, whichever, whatever line, whatever. But the yogi has full faith that Krishna is there as Paramatma within the heart of the animal, and if Krishna wants, he'll protect. That is the faith. Therefore, he's fearless. Okay, so tomorrow we have to finish this chapter. Of course, many of the verses we have been hearing Prabhupada's lectures recently. Today also we heard on all those later verses, Shuchinam, Srimatam, and all those verses. So our work becomes easy.